I don't
Did
know.
you like his size? Like he was like this small.
I
He was
thought
like
he was
teeny
really
tiny.
cute. I liked
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. He's so small.
It's so adorable.
It kind of like creeped me out a little bit, to be honest, because he was like a man, but then he was like small and like I don't know, but he wasn't like his proportions were wrong. They like changed them, and I was like, this looks kind of weird. I don't
Yeah.
know. I just
Yeah.
kept thinking of Hugh Grant. It was so funny.
It was like literally just his face. I don't know.
Yeah, I thought he was goof. I thought he was the best part of this movie. Hi, Liz.
Hi, Court.
And hello, B Critics fam. Welcome to another episode of the B Critics podcast.
This week, we're talking about a musical that is also an origin story. It's fairly new, but it's gotten some mixed reviews on the internet, on all the things. So I'm excited to talk about
Fairly new. It's literally still showing in the theaters. And if you
it.
haven't guessed it by now, we're talking about Wonka, the new one with our boy Timmy. I say our
Timmy
boy.
Tim.
Your boy, Timmy.
Our boy. He's in a lot of movies we like, so.
Yeah, he is in a lot of good movies. And
Mhm.
honestly, he deserves this role. So I'm excited to talk about it too.
Yeah, I love him. I'm obsessed. A
Oh,
little
I know,
bit.
girly. I know. So if you're obsessed, but you also have mixed reviews, this is for you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're all familiar with Willy Wonka, but what we may not be as familiar with is how he became Willy Wonka, the amazing chocolatier. After losing his mother, Willy takes on odd jobs and travels the world in search of the finest chocolate ingredients. His adventure brings him to the Gallery Gourmet, the location of the world's best chocolates, where he plans to set up the greatest chocolate shop the world has ever seen. One horrible contract, some overpowered chocolatiers, and a very needy Oompa Loompa puts Wonka's chocolate dreams on hold. Not for long, though, because Wonka and Noodle have a plan, and it's going to take a lot more than a bunch of bad guys to keep them from achieving their dreams. But they're surely going to try.
Okay, what do we think about the name Noodle?
I think it's kind of silly, but I don't know. I call the cats Noodle.
Oh, Noodle is, it's very much like a term of endearment for like your little one, you know? Like, hey, Noodle.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely
I think
felt
it's
that.
cute. I think it works like for the story.
Yeah, it was just very random.
It feels
But
very like Roald Dahl, which makes sense.
yeah, yep. So this movie was an hour and 56 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Good length. Not too long. Could have been a little shorter, but good, good.
We were talking about this. I feel like 2 hours to 2 hours and 30 minutes has become like the new norm. And I don't know how I feel about it. I kind of like the shorter movies. Sometimes it's fun to have a longer movie, but like every movie now is like at least 2 hours long. And that's
Well,
rough.
let's like compare it to like the originals, right? So like
The 1971
Willy
version.
Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, so the one with Gene Wilder, is an hour and 40 minutes. So that's actually like pretty long for a 1971 movie. And
Mm-hmm.
then Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Oh my god, it was just up. It's the 2005 like Johnny Depp one.
Mm-hmm.
That one is an hour and 55 minutes. So Warner
Around the same.
Brothers is consistent at least since 2005.
Yeah, it just feels like a long movie. I don't know. Like 2 hours is a lot to like commit to. Maybe it's not. Maybe I'm just being like that. I don't know.
No, it's not too bad. I think it's fine. It obviously came out last month in December of
Mm-hmm.
2023, and the budget was $125 million,
Mm-hmm.
which I think is just because there was like a decent amount of like CGI in this movie.
Also, the actors, those guys make a
Oh
lot more
yeah.
money than like we give credit for. We're like, oh, look at these massive budgets when you're paying your actors $10 to $20 million a piece. It adds up
Yeah.
pretty fast.
Yeah. And then the box office is doing pretty good. 165 million so far domestically and 465 million globally. That's
Mm-hmm.
kind of crazy. A
That's
lot more than I would
nutso.
have thought. Yeah, yeah. How much longer is it still in theaters? Do we know? Probably like another month?
Um, well, I think it's been nominated for some awards, so it'll probably be through the end of February, if I had to guess.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay, well, if you are watching this, you haven't seen it yet, you still have time. Stop
plenty of
now. Actually,
time.
don't stop now. Keep listening, but
Yeah, keep listening.
go watch, then come back, keep listening.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this one's directed by Paul King, and
Mhm.
I think he wrote it too, right?
I don't know. But I know
Not
he
for
did
sure.
Paddington, which a lot of people are saying that this is very similar. I haven't seen Paddington, so I can't speak on that, but a lot of people are saying that this one you can tell there's like influence from that movie, which is interesting because that's like about a bear. So,
Yeah. I think Paul King was definitely credited with writing it. Um,
hmm, very cool.
yeah.
They
Yep.
worked
And
they did work with Roald Dahl too.
yeah, he's
So,
listed on here too, and a guy named Simon Farnaby who looks like somebody who would have written Wonka. And the music is all original songs,
uh-huh.
minus obviously the two like revamped songs, I guess. So,
Mhm.
I mean, not revamped, like they're sung by Timothee Chalamet and
Yeah.
Hugh Grant,
They
I
do have
guess.
different
So,
lyrics, but it's the same song.
yeah, but Pure Imagination and Oompa Loompa. But everything else is like all original songs.
Mhm.
Yep. And then the movie was produced by Heyday Films and distributed by Warner Brothers. So all three of those movies that we mentioned were distributed by Warner Brothers.
Mhm.
And then obviously we have a very notable cast for this one.
Very notable. We're gonna mention a couple of them, but like everyone in it is recognizable and just fantastic. The casting was impeccable, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
Yeah. So obviously Timothée Chalamet, we already mentioned him. I mean, I guess we only said
Mhm.
Timmy, but Timothée
Timmy
Chalamet. Yeah. Yeah. So he plays
So, it's
Willy
funny that
Wonka.
we called him Timmy because he Paul King watched his, like, rap video that's on YouTube.
Okay.
Have you seen that? Have you seen it?
No.
Okay. Well, he
From when
did,
he's
like,
like in
a
high school
rap
or something?
in high
Or like,
school, yeah,
okay.
and it's on the internet. You can go and watch it, but Paul
Hmm.
King watched that and was like, "Alright, this is my guy. I have to have him," which I think is
Yeah.
hilarious 'cause it does not translate at all.
Yeah. I did see that he watched like some of his musical theater performances from when he was in high school. I didn't see the
Mhm.
rap video. I guess I need to go watch
Yeah.
that.
I mean, he's a very confident guy, so maybe that's what it was. I don't know.
Hmm. Have you seen all the videos on the internet that are like, oh, Timothée Chalamet is actually pronounced Timothée? Like that's the way
It
he
is.
goes by,
It's
Timothée?
French.
Yeah, yeah, we
Yeah.
should start calling him Timothée. It feels weird. I feel like I'm an imposter when I
Have you
speak
heard
like
him
that.
speak French?
Yes.
The French accent is so buttery. I'm, like, a big fan. His voice,
Oh my
like,
god.
drops 2 octaves. I'm a big
Okay,
Timothée
so
Chalamet fan.
y'all will all quickly realize this. There's two people in this podcast. Liz, who is a Timothée Chalamet stan, and she loves him. And honestly, she says things like his voice is buttery when he speaks. And then you have me over here who's like, Timothy, little Timmy, he's like a child. Like
Timmy Tim.
he's something. So I think he was a great casting in this movie,
Yeah.
actually. I think he did a really, really good job.
Mhm.
Um and I think we're going to talk a little bit more about that, but I'll just leave it at I agree, it was a good casting.
Mhm.
And then other notable cast, we have Calla Lane, who plays Noodle, Hugh Grant, who was the Oompa Loompa.
He's only in,
Very,
like, 4 scenes, but
I
he's very
know.
notable.
Yes. Then Keegan-Michael Key is the chief of police, Olivia Colman, who's Mrs. Scrubbit, and Tom Davis, who's Bleacher, her like love interest man.
Mhm. And then all of
Hmm.
the chocolatiers are, like, notable actors. I just don't know them as well. Um, but they were all fabulous. Like, their little scene that they have together, I love it. I love
Hmm.
it.
Yeah, I think all the like acting was pretty good in this movie. And I
Mhm.
think it was like decently well cast as well.
Yep. So, if you follow along with us, you know what time it is. It is time for our weekly thank you to everyone who's listening. We love you guys so much. You keep us going, and you're the reason why we even have this show. So, thank you from the bottom of our hearts. And yeah, thanks for tuning into this Wonka episode. It's going to be fun.
Yes, thank you guys so much. And if you're loving what you're listening to, the way that you can say thank you back to us for the content that we're making is to share the podcast with a friend. We have new episodes that come out every single Monday. We are like an episode machine, it feels like. And so we want you and all of your friends to listen to them and enjoy them. So be sure to subscribe and follow wherever you listen and leave ratings and reviews wherever you listen as well. And then also you can interact with us on all of our social medias.
Yeah, you can find us on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at bcriticspodcast. We post all kinds of fun content, both related to what we're talking about and then also just what we're doing in our lives. Check out our stories. Sometimes Courtney pops in to share her workout.
Yeah,
You just never know
randomly.
what you're going to see.
Yeah. There's a lot of really good content on the Instagram, honestly. Like if you're looking to find what movie to watch next or just like you love movie content like we do, definitely check us out. And then also be sure to check out our new partner Reeload. So the Reeload app is this very cool like brand new app that houses movie reviews and generates personalized like movie recommendations for people who love movies. So if you want a place where you can build community, follow your friends, follow your like creators that you love and kind of figure out what movie to watch or stream next. This is like seriously the app for you.
Mhm.
We're on there, so be sure to like go on there, create an account. You can use our code. Liz will talk about it in a second. And then you can follow us and like we'll give you recommendations and yeah.
You can check us out.
Yeah.
So, we'll put a link in the episode description below so that you can go and download the app. It's available in the App Store and the Google Play Store. So, you can get it on your phone. I think they may be coming out with a web version as well. So, whenever that happens, we'll include that as well. But definitely go and download the app. If for nothing else, just to check it out and play around. And when you create an account, be sure to use our code bcrit. It's completely free to you. Um, so yeah, sign up and use our code bcrit. That's BCRIT. B as in beans, C as in chocolate, R as in recipe, I as in imagination, and T as in Taylor Swift.
Not Timothee Chalamet.
T as in Timothee Chalamet.
Yeah. To me. Okay, it's time to get back into the episode.
All right. So this wouldn't be a discussion about the new Wonka movie without talking about the previous movies. So this one's not a remake, it's not a reboot, it's an origin story. Takes
Sorry.
inspiration. I don't know what that sound was.
It was horrible. Apologize.
Okay, so this takes inspiration from the original Roald Dahl book. So if you read that book growing up, you'll see a lot of that inspiration here. If you haven't read it yet, definitely give it a go. It's pretty short. You could probably read it in a couple days.
I mean, it's a children's book.
Yeah, it's a
And
kid's
he
book.
wrote like a lot of stuff. Like
Mhm.
one example is like Matilda. I
Yeah.
was obsessed with that book when I was a kid, actually.
He's done a lot of really cool things. The BFG is one of my personal faves. So yeah, go check those out. But the two movies we are referring to are Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory from 1971 and then Charlie and the Chocolate Factory from 2005. So we're going to talk just really quickly about the three Wonkas. So in 1971, Wonka was played by Gene Wilder. In 2005, he was played by Johnny Depp. And then this past year is played by Timothée Chalamet. All three very different actors, very different looks. At least Timothée Chalamet has curly hair like Gene Wilder. But I mean, how do you feel about these three actors? Who's your favorite? What do you like and not like about the three of them?
Yeah. So I've always been very partial to the Gene Wilder version. I feel like
Same.
that's just like the original Willy Wonka. And what's
Mm-hmm.
interesting is that I think the book is actually called Charlie and the Chocolate Factory,
Yeah.
like the remake movie.
Mm-hmm.
And they for some reason they changed the original to be Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory,
Mm-hmm.
which like it is a movie about Charlie. Like I was watching it earlier and it's literally starts with Charlie and his family and he's like
Mm-hmm.
looking over at the Wonka factory and stuff like that. And But as far as Willy Wonka goes, I always enjoyed Gene Wilder the most.
Yeah,
And
same. I think Johnny Depp scared me a little bit. Like,
yeah,
his portrayal was not, I don't know, it wasn't the same. And there was, like, the weird thing with the dentist in his, I don't know.
I don't remember liking the Johnny Depp version of that movie, to be
Mm-mm.
honest.
I don't think
I
it was
think
very good. I don't think it
the
did very well either.
the Gene Wilder version has like a lot of rewatchability to me.
And he's a lovable character. Johnny Depp's character, you're kind of like, I don't know if I should think this guy's a sociopath or like what's going on with him. Gene Wilder's just like a little weird and quirky.
Mhm.
Yeah. I think Timothee Chalamet captured a lot of the like sweetness that you see in Gene Wilder's character
Yeah.
and like the quirkiness and just like not caring what people think about
Mhm.
him portion of it. It was a big undertaking for him. Like, I cannot
Oh yeah.
imagine. Like, Gene Wilder is iconic as Willy Wonka, so I don't even know like how you get in the headspace to take that on, you know?
Yeah, I agree. So one thing I also want to say about Gene Wilder is I think he's a really good singer.
Mhm.
Like if you listen back to that like Pure Imagination song, like his voice is it's really really good and it's like pleasant to listen to. And
Mhm.
I honestly think that Timothy Chalamet like is also like a decent singer in that
Mhm.
respect, but as far as like how he acted, I think he was I think he was pretty good. I think it's interesting like if you think about who else could have done it, like I have a hard time like picking anybody else to be like, "Oh, they could have done it better than
Mhm.
Timothy did it." Like I know Tom
Tom
Holland
Holland.
was like
Yeah.
a big runner up, and then I saw some other names were like Donald Glover, Ryan Gosling, Ezra Miller. I actually think
Mhm.
Ezra Miller could have done a really good job.
Okay.
I enjoy him a lot, but that is not to say that I think that Timothy did a bad job. Like I think he did
Yeah.
a good job,
Mhm. Yeah.
and I think you're
I
right.
personally can't imagine Tom Holland in the role.
Mm-mm, I
He just
agree.
has this air of like meekness to him that just
Mhm.
I don't think would have worked.
Yeah, I don't think that would have worked either.
Okay, so we both agree that we like the original from 1971 the best. So we're just gonna like
Mhm.
throw Johnny Depp out and pretend like that didn't happen.
Pretend
Um,
like it didn't. I mean, I think a lot of people do that, to be honest. And I think that's kind of why, like, when this movie first was announced too, like, people
mhm,
were kind of upset about it, honestly, because I think they thought it was just another remake, like the Johnny
mhm,
Depp one, and they were like, "Dang, like, Warner Brothers is just trying to squeeze out, like, all the money that they can get." And I think they announced the movie, like, 2 months after Gene Wilder died, and so
oh no.
I know, rip, and so I think like the whole concept of this movie has been like met with a lot of backlash since it was created or like the idea was even conceived. But
Mhm.
I lost where I was going.
I will say, and we talked about this in a previous episode. I can't remember which one. Um, Timothy Chalamet's got some haters out there.
Oh yeah.
People thought he wasn't going to do a good job in this, and I'm just going to go on record saying that I've been excited from the beginning. And y'all know if you listen to that episode, I can't remember which one it is, but you know that I was like, Timmy Tim. I think it was our Little Women episode. I was
Mm-hmm.
very excited about him as Willy Wonka. So I'm just going to say I was right and you were wrong, all of you haters.
Okay.
Okay. So, like we mentioned already, this is an origin story. So, this is like a prequel to both Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory and Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Like, those ones are remakes, but this one is previous to that. So, this is like how Willy Wonka like started, kind of
Mm-hmm.
a little bit. It's kind of like how he got his first shop, or I guess his shop at all. I guess the end is supposed to be his shop. But anyway, how do you feel about this as Willy Wonka's origin story?
I thought it was fine. I thought it
Okay.
was cute. I think the whole thing was cute and sweet. Um, I think it could have been like a lot like kookier, crazier, and that would have been more like believable to me. But I
Mhm.
think the fact that it was like, him and his mom and like his mom passed, and then he like came over and was gonna, make the chocolate and like remember her and stuff. Like, I thought that was very sweet.
Mm-hmm. So Hayden and I saw this together, and Hayden, my God, Hayden was like, it should have been darker. Like Willy
Yeah,
Wonka has some darkness to him,
yeah.
and you
I
don't really get that from this.
I wrote
There's not a
down
lot of dark.
very cute, but where is the creepy? Question mark, question mark, question mark.
Yeah.
Like, if you watch, you already mentioned it with the Johnny Depp version, but even the Gene Wilder version, like, there's this scene, like, right at the beginning where Charlie walks up to the factory, like, outside of, he's, like, looking at the gates, and everyone's like, nobody goes in there. Like, nobody's seen in there because, Willy Wonka, like, closed the gates. And there's this, like,
Mm-hmm.
creepy ass man who's standing there and is like, nobody goes in there. Like, they haven't gone in there for years. And you're like, what the fuck is that, man? And, like, there was none of that in this story at
Yeah.
all.
I think personally, I wasn't concerned about the darkness at all because to me, Willy Wonka's like, he's a sweet man. He's a sweet person. He's very trusting. He's very caring. And so, like, they did a good job getting that across. I think that like it almost needs like an intermediate next movie to show like what happens to him to like bring the darkness in and cause his mistrust, because in this one he has the whole thing with the chocolate cartel, but like it doesn't really get him down. I don't know, like nothing happened in this movie that would show why he wouldn't allow people into his chocolate shop.
Yeah. Yeah, agreed. The other thing too is like, I think the fact that it's not a little bit creepy and a little bit darker, like, makes it a little bit like, I hate to say this, but like boring. Like, it's
Mm.
not really crazy or outlandish enough for it to be like a rewatch movie for me. Cause I'm like, oh, it was cute, it was sweet, it has a good story, like it was well done, like it was well acted and sung. But like
Mhm.
to me, like what makes like the Willy Wonka, like the original one, like so intriguing is because it's kind of like a little mystery vibe, and like it's kind of creepy, and like there's some like crazy stuff that happens. And like in this one it's like more like they just give it to you straight, like all the way through, and it's like
Mhm.
sweetness vibes.
Yeah. I mean, they milk a giraffe, which is interesting.
It's kind of weird. Yeah.
It's kinda weird,
Yeah.
and his chocolates make people do weird things. Ingredients that no one's has ever heard of, like Yeti sweat. I'm not sure about
Yeah,
that.
which I think
Um,
that's like pretty, like, feels accurate to
yeah.
the spirit of the story, right? Like, isn't that kind of the
Yeah.
vibe? Like, he has this factory where he has like all these weird plants and shit that like that's where he
Mhm.
gets his ingredients.
The Oompa Loompa story too, I think should have been a little darker. Like, you just have this poor, I guess his name is Lofty? I don't know what his name is. We just call him Oompa Loompa. But he is supposed to be guarding the cocoa beans, and Wonka steals their cocoa beans and then they like exile him. I'm like not entirely certain about that, but I feel like the Oompa Loompas are like scarier than they portrayed them to be.
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, okay. So I have like two things to say about the Oompa Loompa origin story. So one, the first one is, I agree with you. I think they could have done this way better. Like, had some like reason that the Oompa
Mhm.
Loompas came, like a better reason that they came together with um
Wonka.
Willie, and like joined in with him and like kind of made it like dark and creepy and like whatever. However, I did think it was very funny. Like how
Mhm.
he was like, "Oh, there's like this little orange man that like keeps stealing my chocolate." And everybody's like,
Orange
"What
man
the
with green hair.
hell?" And
And
like
she's like, "No."
you as the viewer, you know who that is, right? You know it's
Yeah.
the Oompa Loompa. And so like they take you on this journey, like half the movie, where they don't show you the little orange man, but you know he's real because
Yeah.
you know that the Oompa Loompas have to come in this movie.
Yeah.
And so like everybody else is like incredulous, like, what the hell is he talking about? This little orange man with the green
He's a
hair, like
psycho.
crazy, like eating his own chocolate over there.
Mhm.
And then when he shows up and it's Hugh Grant, I wish I didn't know it was Hugh Grant. Like, I really wish I didn't know going into this movie. This is why I don't watch trailers, because that would have been so hilarious if, like, it was just,
Yes.
like, Hugh Grant popped up. I was like, "Oh my god." But I did think that that was all very funny. But it also could have been, like, kookier. Like, he could have been a lot meaner.
Yeah, he could have been. He was very dry. Like,
Mhm.
he was very dry. But I think too they were trying to make this like more of a kids movie, like
Oh,
kid
yeah.
friendly, which I
Little kid
appreciate
movie.
because I love that. Like, I love kids movies. I love, like, we have a Disney Plus and I love watching like all the Disney movies. Like, I'm a big fan. Like, don't get me wrong, I love an adult movie, okay? But
Mhm.
I love kids movies. I love a movie that I can like turn on and just like be doing stuff like while it's on, and I don't know. I love that. I'm big fan.
Yeah, it definitely felt like it was made for kids, for
Mhm.
sure. Um, like, especially when you're thinking about just the story itself too and the way it was written. Like,
Mhm.
they took all, like, the darkness out of it and made it, like, a very sweet, wholesome, cutesy story, which is
Mhm.
very, like, tailored to little kids.
Yeah. But it still does make sense, like, as the origin story for the original, in my opinion. Like, it still makes sense. How do you feel about the musical aspect of it and the choice to make this a musical versus a movie that has some singing in it?
I think it's good that it was a musical. I
Yeah.
think it should have been a musical because it's a, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory movie.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, the original is a musical, so I feel like it needs to be. Uh, yeah. Yeah, I think that was a good choice.
Okay. And then how did you feel about the singing and dancing specifically in this movie? Like, do we like it? Was it cringy? Like, how did we feel?
Okay, this is how I feel about it. Did you like The Greatest Showman?
Yes.
Okay, that tracks. So, I personally The Greatest Showman and La La Land are 2 musicals that came out, like, in,
Mhm.
I think, the same year, honestly,
Probably.
and I really love La La Land, and a lot of people really love La La Land. A lot of people also really, really loved The Greatest Showman.
Mhm.
I really disliked The Greatest Showman,
Courtney.
and I I feel like if you like The Greatest Showman, you would like the singing and dancing in
I'm
this movie.
so glad you said that because there were so many times where I was like, this is giving me Greatest Showman vibes. And I told people too, like before this movie came out, I was like, I feel like it's going to be like The Greatest Showman. Like, I just have this feeling that that's what it's going to be like. And it was. So I'm very
Yeah.
glad that you said that.
Yeah, however, my opinion
However,
of it is that it was good,
it was
but
well
it
done.
it was unremarkable. So, I
Oh,
think everybody did a good job of their
okay.
singing.
We're going to give you participation trophies.
I think dancing was good. I have my fave dancing moment written as the one with the balloons where,
Yeah,
like,
that's very
Timmy
Greatest
and Noodle
Showman.
are, like, going up, and, like, I liked
Yeah.
that. I thought I thought it was unremarkable. There wasn't, like, a song that I was like, "Oh, I love that song. I'm gonna go sing that song." I think the
Mm.
2 favorite song moments for me in the movie were the 2 songs that were, like, original Charlie and the Chocolate Factory songs,
Mhm.
the Pure Imagination, which I think Timmy did a good job with. He sang it very well, I enjoyed it,
We've
and
moved on
then
from Timothée and he's Timmy.
but I don't think that I don't think it was, like, produced overly well. Like, I feel um, like, the lyricism could have been, like, a little bit more original, maybe.
Hmm,
Yeah.
okay.
But, I mean, I say all that to say, like, it there's 2 people in this world of musical
Mhm.
lovers, and there's Greatest Showman people and La La Land people, and if you like Greatest Showman, you probably will like the musical aspect of this movie for sure.
Yeah. I think just in general, if you're a musical person, that this like, you're gonna like it because it's
Oh, no, I
very, like,
disagree.
very
I
I think
I'm
it's very to a T musical.
I'm
Like,
a musical person, and I feel like
I don't know if I would call you a musical person. I think that there are a few movies that you like that are musicals, but you like them because of the specific style.
Well, I grew up going to musicals, like, with my family. Like, we would go to musicals all the time. Like, we would go to New York
Do
and go
you
to
like Les
musicals.
Mis? Have you seen Les Mis
Yeah, I've seen Les Mis in theaters, actually.
and Wicked?
Yeah, several times. Billy
Um,
Elliot. I used to see Annie. Like, I've seen that probably, like, 4 or 5 times. We used to go see
hmm.
Cinderella, like, every year for, like, years. Lion
It's surprising
King.
to me then that you didn't like Greatest Showman
Yeah,
and you
no, not
didn't
my
like you
vibe.
weren't like a huge fan of this one. But whatever. Anyway, I personally think if you're a musical
What did you
person,
think, Elizabeth? Tell me.
I think it's
I've been
great.
ranting myself, and we need the other opinion.
I think it's great. I think it was really well done. Um, I I felt like they brought a lot of, like, the imagination into it. They did a really good
Mhm.
job with that, and, like, the music made sense. I also really appreciated how they brought it in, like, in different parts. Like, it wasn't just like, "Alright, we're going from, like, one musical number to the next musical number."
Sorry.
There was, like, in between, there would be, like, little, like, interludes where it was, like, part of what was going on. So, like, the scrub scrub kept coming back, and you'd
Yeah.
hear, like, the scrub scrub interlude, and then someone would, like, bang twice, or, like, something would happen. It was
Yeah.
just, like it was just cute. I don't know, it was cutesy. Maybe
That
it's, like,
was
the cutesy musical stuff that you
yeah.
don't like.
Yeah, it was. I mean, that did all feel very cutesy musical, like, to a T.
Mhm.
Like, they did capture that feeling for sure. What would you say was, like, your favorite song of the soundtrack?
Oh my gosh, that's hard. I really, really liked A World of Your Own, and I thought the scrub scrub was really cute. Like, just adorable. I like that we got it twice. I liked that the dog was a part of it. Like, it was just
Mhm.
that part was very cute, and it just that song to me gave the most musical vibes
Yeah.
because it included, like, everybody in the cast. It wasn't just Willy Wonka singing.
You know what that one made me think of? Like, because maybe it's just because they were, like, down in the basement,
Is
like,
it Annie?
cleaning. No, it made me think of, like, The Little Mermaid when I don't even know if it's, like, a song in Little Mermaid because I think it's only, like, 2 songs in Little Mermaid, but, like, the scene where, like, Ariel ends up with all, like, the housemaids and they're, like, cleaning laundry and, like, chatting with her.
When
You know what I'm
she's in
talking
the
about?
house before she can speak?
Yeah.
When she's just, like, being thrown around the house?
Yeah.
Is that a song part
No,
of the
I
movie?
don't think so. I think there's only, like, 2 songs in Little Mermaid, like, for real.
Um, okay, I don't know about that. I I thought you were gonna say that it was reminding you of Annie in A Hard Knock Life.
Mm, I mean, yeah, it's the same vibe as that, but it doesn't remind me of that song at all.
Okay.
No.
Alright, well, let's talk through the movie. So, it opens with Wonka on a ship, and we get our first musical number, which is Hatful of Dreams, and that brings him to his, like, final destination, which is the Gallery Gourmet.
That was a very interesting choice of an opening number, like, him on the boat, like, just him singing, like
Yeah.
I mean, that's huge that Timmy had to
Very bold.
carry
I
the
know.
opening of the movie like that, and I actually
He
think it was a
carried the
really
whole movie,
Oh,
honestly, he
yeah.
did.
I think it was a good choice too to have it open that way because it really set the
Mhm.
tone. It was like, "This is gonna be a Timmy movie, and we are in for the ride."
Yes. Yeah. Um, when he's going through and he's singing, there's one point there's a lot of points in this movie, and I'm gonna bring them up as we talk about it, where it's like a direct callback to the Gene Wilder version of this movie.
Mm,
And at the end of this musical number, he drops his coin in the drain. And if you remember, Charlie
mhm,
picks up a coin out of the drain. So that's meant to be like, I don't know, maybe that's the coin that Charlie finds
mhm.
that buys him his winning chocolate bar.
Yeah,
I don't know.
cute.
I thought that was cute. I loved it.
That is cute.
Um, but then we end up at Scrub It and Bleachers, and Willie kind of meets Noodle a little bit. But then he ends up signing the worst contract ever. He basically admits himself into the Hotel California. And
Okay. Yeah.
like that's just insane to me. But this is another call to the Gene Wilder movie. Because if you remember in that movie, he has all the kids sign this document with all this fine print that nobody
Mhm.
reads, and it ends up like biting Charlie in the ass at the end.
Mm. Yeah.
But
Yeah. I mean, of course, it was a callback, and I think it was cute, right? Like, how he,
yeah.
like, pulled it all out and then put it
He's
back
like, "Whoa."
in. Yeah, and then he was like and Noodle's over there in the corner, she's like, "Read the fine print." And he's like, "What?" Like, "Heed the hind what?" Like, and he just doesn't do anything about it.
Yeah, I know. He's like, "Maybe I will give this a once over." And then he's like, "Yep, all looks fine."
But then the
Doesn't even
fact that
read
he
it.
couldn't read made
I
sense. Yeah,
know.
that was
Oh,
a
that
good
broke my
little twist.
heart. That was
Mhm.
cute. Um, Also, like, that little tidbit of him, like, not being able to read makes sense why he, like, makes up all these words and, like, says all these weird things because he just is speaking his own little language kind of.
Mhm.
But so he stays at Scrub It and Bleachers, and the next day he goes to the Gallery Gourmet to give the people the very first taste of Wonka chocolates. And we are introduced to our first Wonka chocolate, which is the Hover Choc, which makes people fly.
That was really interesting.
Bold first choice.
Yeah. Well, so what I will say is that this movie is so different really than any like especially the original, but any movie we've seen like this because the CGI is so much more advanced. Like
Mhm.
they could do that so easily and they like that really couldn't have been possible before in the
No.
same way.
They did a really good job with the computer images as well, the CGI, because it could have very easily turned and not looked good, like, if they went too far with it, but I felt
Mhm.
like they used it when they needed to, and they did a lot of practical stuff. If you listen to us, you know we love, like, practical effects,
Mhm.
but they did a good job mixing the 2, using it when they needed to, and when they did use it, like, making sure that it looked good and didn't look cheesy, because that could have easily, like, ruined this movie.
Yeah, and I thought that was good too that they did that because it almost made it feel more accurate to the Willy Wonka story, like, that it's just
Mhm.
so, like, weird and outrageous.
So out there.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell is a hoverfly?
Yeah. But just that, like,
And
people were hovering, like,
yeah,
I don't
and just
know.
fine with it, like,
Yeah.
not concerned.
Yeah.
Um, so another thing I saw on the internet is that we see a lot of the chocolates that Wonka makes, like, physically see them, and they had a chocolatier on set, like, making the chocolates.
Hmm.
And so, like, the ones that you see up close are, like, real. They're actually crafted by a chocolatier, and they actually ate them on set.
Okay.
And, there's a lot of interviews with Timothee Chalamet where he said that he would, like, get sick on set from how many chocolates he had to eat, and they would have to, like, pause and, like, take a break because he's like, "I'm not feeling good."
Yeah, and I bet it was just, like, pure milk chocolate too. Like, I
Yes.
bet it wasn't, like, any sort of decadent chocolate. They're having, like, pretend like it's, like, the best chocolate they've ever eaten in their entire life, and he's like, "Oh my god, if I have another chocolate, I'm
If
gonna
I have to eat
die."
one more chocolate.
Chocolate.
Um, but in this number, we also get introduced to Slugworth and his minions,
Mhm.
which, I mean, everybody knows Slugworth. He's the bad guy. So immediately, you're like, but we don't like him. Um, and we meet the chief of police, who is Keegan-Michael Key, who's just fabulous.
Yeah, I thought Slugworth was well cast too. I thought he
Hmm.
was like a goof, which I appreciated. And the chief of
Hmm.
police was well cast as well. And I thoroughly enjoyed watching him like fatten up throughout the
He
movie.
blew up like a balloon.
Hysterical. Yeah. And I also think that was kind of cute, like very Roald Dahl, like to be like how
Uh-huh.
insanely ginormous he got over like the course of like a week, you
Hmm.
know? Yeah.
He also resembles Violet Beauregarde at the end when she turns into a blueberry. which I think
Mhm.
is kind of fun. But what I'll say about all of the chocolatiers, Slugworth and Fickle whatever and Prod Nose or whatever the hell his name is, they are hysterical. Every scene they're in is just like comedy genius. And like the way they pronounce their W's, like every W has an H after it. Like some people will joke and be like cool whip. But every
Yeah.
W they'd be like oh, I guess a lot of words have an H after them. But even W words that like
Which
don't have it, like they would pronounce the H. And I just thought it was so funny. Like so like better than you and just so funny.
I thought they were very silly, and
Yeah.
they did silly very well.
Yeah, they're very fun. So then at the end of the day, he gets shut down and he has to give up all of his earnings from the day. And then he goes back to Scrub It and Bleachers to settle up his debt of one. What's the money?
Uh, Shit.
Silver somethings.
Silver. I was just listening to the song. One silver.
Whatever. It starts with an S. He's got
Ah!
one left,
I'll
or
look it up.
the police give him one because they feel bad for him. And he goes to settle up his debt, and then he ends up, bless you.
Thank you.
He ends up becoming one of the scrub maids because he didn't read the fine print, and they charged him for every little thing he did, like using the steps and using the bar of soap, which is
Mm.
gross.
Use all the steps
Um,
up and then all the steps down. It's gonna cost you 10,000 silver sovereigns. That's what they're
sovereigns.
called. Yeah.
And warming his toes cost him sovereigns. It's just funny.
Goof.
But at this point, we get the Scrub Scrub musical number, which we've already talked about, and we meet the merry band of misfits that have one way or another come across Scrub It and Bleacher and gotten stuck there. And we get our first view of like the scrub room and what they do down there, which is very cute. They kind of run him through the whole thing, showing him what they do, singing about it. The
It is
one
kind
note
of
I
like a hard
had,
knock life. You're so right.
yeah, yeah, it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah. But it's
One
not
note,
like a hard knock life was very like they had like a lot of attitude. And this one they just felt like they were like, yeah, we scrub.
they're like, we're
We
here,
scrub.
we're stuck here, it's fine.
Yeah.
One note I had was he walks through a lot of steam. Washing clothes is a very steamy process.
Uh-huh.
Not one frizzy hair did Mr. Willy Wonka have on his very curly, well-kept head.
Mm-hmm.
Unrealistic. He would have been like a frizzy mess. They should have had him come out of there looking like a poodle. That would have been so funny.
Elizabeth, I feel like realistic was not what they were going for with this entire movie. Like none
Yeah.
of it was realistic.
I
So I
just
think
have
you had to like give
ideas.
up on that. Yeah.
Okay. So then that night, Wonka makes a special chocolate for Noodle, and they devise a plan to sneak out during the day to sell chocolate and earn their way out of Scrub It and Bleachers. So at this point, we're introduced to the Travel Chocolate Factory, which is quite the interesting contraption. Makes
I
some
liked it.
very interesting things.
Yeah. I liked that. Um I liked it was kind of like silly. I don't know. It kind of
Mhm.
explained like how I don't know if I liked it. Like I feel like it was confusing. Like the yeah, I don't know. I feel like I'm not sure if I wish like they had like done away with that and just like had him make his factory the whole time or like kept that because it's kind of like why doesn't he just like use his little factory all the time?
Because it doesn't make
Because
enough.
so he just like needs more,
Yeah, he needs more, more than he can do.
Got it.
I thought it was very cute. And if you're a Roald Dahl fan and you've seen the BFG, the little bottles that you see on there are the dream bottles that the
Oh,
BFG
cute.
kept. Yeah. So,
I like how
and
it just like would randomly make a chocolate that looked nothing like what it was producing. It would be like making this like brown chocolate and then it would come out like a blue egg with like flowers on it and you were like, Okay, that
All
happened
right,
somehow
sure.
with the press, you know.
The silver lining one that had the, like, silver sheen around the sides and then it had, like, a a a lightning bolt. It was like, how did that even
It just appeared. It's fine.
it's magic.
Mhm.
He's a magician after all.
But I did like, the, like, factory that he made to get out of cleaning as well.
Yeah, it was cute.
Yeah.
It was very cute with the dog and all
Mhm.
the things. Yeah, he's very inventive, that Willy Wonka.
That's the vibe.
We also get here, like, the ridiculously optimistic Wonka. Like,
Mhm.
he doesn't ever think about what could go wrong, which is, like, good and bad, right? But then it's, like, starkly contrasted with Noodle, who's, like, the pessimist of all pessimists, which rightfully so. Like, she's lived her whole life with these people that don't even like her.
Yeah, I'm
Um,
surprised she's as positive as she is.
yeah. But in this scene, we also get like Wonka's backstory. So we learn about his mom and the birthday chocolate bars, which is also a callback to the original because Charlie got a birthday chocolate bar every year.
Mhm.
And we get the iconic line, everything good in this world started with a dream from his mom,
Mhm.
which is kind of like what keeps Wonka going his whole life. From
Yeah,
there, we get the chocolate cartel. So we see
under
them
the
at work
church.
in the church.
That was funny that it was
Yes.
under a church. That was honestly
The
hysterical.
chocoholic monks.
Yeah, that was pretty well written, I
Yeah.
will say. And just the fact that they would go into, like, the confession booth and, like, give him a chocolate and that would bring him down, that was goofy. I liked that a lot.
It was very good. It felt very modern, like, that's something that would happen. Just, like,
Mhm.
corruption everywhere. Um,
Corruption everywhere.
but we get the cutest little
Oh, that's
musical
so
number, Sweet Tooth,
good. Uh-huh.
and, that's when they're trying to convince the chief of police to help them get rid of Willy Wonka.
And giving him all these, like, boxes of chocolate, and he's like, "No, no, no, I'm trying to be good. No. I will not be killing men for chocolate."
1,800 boxes of chocolate, and he's like, "Done."
So crazy.
But then it's a new day, and Wonka and Noodle are putting their plan to action. And what is their plan exactly? Well, they have decided that they're going to figure out how to get Miss Scrubbit and Bleacher to fall in love with each other, and so that they're not paying attention to what's going on around them. They lead Miss Scrubbit to believe that Bleacher is royalty, and Wonka tells him that he should dress scantily
Gotta show
to
some
get her
thigh.
attention.
You know what'll
You wanna
get
make
her.
her sigh, show her
Show
some
her some
thigh.
thigh.
And he comes out in, like, a what are those things called? It's a German thing.
Lederhosen?
Lederhosen.
Is that what they're called?
I think that's the female one. But anyway, it's the same thing.
Oh.
She calls them dungarees. And he's,
Lederhosen.
like, peacocking around, like, bending over, doing all the things. It's like a role reversal.
I
I thought
think
it
it's
was
men
cute.
and women. Lederhosen.
Lederhosen.
It's definitely what it looks like. Mm, something. Who came
Oh
up with
my
that fit?
gosh.
Not a fan.
And this is where we see Wonka's washing machine that
Yeah,
he made using the dog.
I'm ahead of that story. The dog. Ugh, poor dog.
I know, poor thing. Yeah, he seemed pretty happy.
Yeah, he was fine. That
Um,
felt that creation felt very Willy Wonka-esque.
mhm. Yeah. Like he would have like engineered his way out of something. Or
Mhm,
like
for sure. And,
yeah,
like, it would have been a contraption that, like, was insanely not realistic, but, like, if it was real, it
worked.
would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
um and so it works, their plan works. Wonka escapes. Noodle helps him escape for the day, but then he finds out that his chocolates have been stolen. And this is the first time we get the like foreshadowing, I don't know what to call it, to the Oompa Loompas. It's a little
Mm-hmm.
orange man has stolen his chocolate, and so now
He
they've
just
got to
says
make
it so
more.
casually. He's like, yeah,
Yeah,
little orange man. He's been stealing my chocolate.
not
Okay, sir.
concerned. Not concerned. We're not concerned about anything in this movie. Like, all these wild things happen. There's people floating around on balloons. They're breaking into the zoo, which has no security cameras. I'm concerned. And
This from like the early 1900s. It's
no
supposed to
one's
be.
worried.
Even
No
though
one's
they have a
worried.
phone in the car. Did you notice that?
I don't know what time period this is from. They'd never It's not a real location either. So, and they filmed like all over Europe. They've got like London, France, Germany. The zoo is German. Like, they filmed all over the place. It's like no one location. It's just like everywhere.
Hmm.
Anyway, so they're going to do the giraffe, like I just mentioned.
Yeah,
And
that
they
does
have to
happen.
milk the giraffe named Abigail.
I thought that was cute.
It's cute. I thought they did really good, like, with the CGI giraffe. I was a little concerned, like, when I first saw that it was CGI. I was like, but it didn't look terrible. Um, they maybe could have used a real giraffe. I don't know what the like how that would have worked out, but I
I
guess it
think
was okay.
I think they kind of like leaned into the CGI of this movie a little bit. And you just
Mhm.
kind of like accepted that it was there and it had like this air of like unrealism. And so I think it once you accepted that, it was fine. Like if you think about that scene, right? Like Noodle is standing on this like insanely tall ladder and like Wonka, like the things that they're doing are not,
Like
they like
milking a
defy the
giraffe.
laws of
That's not a
gravity,
thing.
right? Like none
Yeah.
of it makes sense. So it's kind of
Yeah.
like you have to sort of just like step into the mindset of being like, oh, it's fine. Like they're just chilling with this giraffe and he's fine with them just milking him out of nowhere, but and like kind of weirdly communicating with them about it in his
Mhm.
own way or her own way, his
Yeah.
own way. Milk it.
And we also get the, in my opinion, oddest musical number in the movie. I don't know how I felt about this number. I kind of liked it because it like went with everything, but at the same time it felt like a little too cheesy to me.
Yeah. It was an interesting like writing decision to make a lot of this movie about not just Wonka, but this girl Noodle, like in
Mhm.
general. Like I feel like they kind of took it from being an origin story to like being like a relationship story. And like while I thought it was sweet, I kind of agree with you. It was like a little bit too much. Like I don't really
It was
know
like overdone. Like,
why they did that direction exactly.
I think they were trying to show his heart in
Mhm.
taking care of these people who he doesn't know, by the way,
Yeah.
and like how trusting he is, and like when he says he's going to do something, he does it, kind of thing. This number, just like, it could have been anything else. Like, why are we doing a song about Noodle? I don't know.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I mean, it made the rest of the movie make sense, like with the writing of Noodle's story in it. Like I feel like without
mhm,
this build up about Noodle, that whole arc wouldn't have made sense. I
mhm,
just think they could have removed that arc kind of and like focused a
yeah.
little bit more on Wonka.
It did give Wonka a reason to come back, though, because he was completely
Mhm.
ready to just like sail off into midnight and never make chocolate again.
Yeah.
Um, but I guess it makes sense. But we do get your balloon scene, which was a very
I
cute
liked
scene.
the balloons. It was cute.
Hmm. Um, and then we get a very upsetting scene where the chief of police is beating up on Willy Wonka and halfway drowning him, which I'm kind of surprised that that was allowed, but here we are.
And he's like,
Um,
"Did you hear what I said?" "No, I didn't."
no,
Tried it
do it
again.
again.
Mhm.
um, but this also leads into us getting the story of the chocolate cartel and how they're doing what they're doing, and Wonka finding out that they're bribing everyone, and this leads them to come up with a way to sneak around and sell Wonka chocolate, and they end up sneaking around through the storm drains, which doesn't have a lot of significance for the rest of the movie, but is like kind of like a cute thing for a minute that they do.
Mhm.
He becomes the talk of the town. They start earning real money, which lets them buy his first chocolate shop, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, I thought the montage where they were like selling chocolate under the storm drains was cute, and like
Mm-hmm.
how they got like found out too when
Mm-hmm.
they like caught something underneath the cap of the drain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very cute. Um, but before Wonka can open his first chocolate shop, we've got to meet Mr. Oompa Loompa. So the little orange man strikes again, but this time Wonka was ready, and he captures the little orange man, and we get the Oompa Loompa song, which is really cute and shows off Hugh Grant in a very special way.
How do you feel about the Hugh Grant CGI? Like it was like his head and his hands, and then like his body was like really little, and
Yeah.
like there's a couple moments where like his hand goes on the window, you know?
Yeah. I don't know exactly. I think it's pretty obvious that it's CGI'd. Um,
I mean, yeah.
but it's got a lot of his mannerisms, and like they did a good job with it. I don't know how they would have done it otherwise.
Mhm.
So, I don't
Did you like
know.
his size? Like he was like this small.
I
He was
thought
like
it was
teeny
really
tiny.
cute. I liked
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. He's so small.
It's so
It
adorable.
kind of like creeped me out a little bit, to be honest, because he was like a man, but then he was like small and like I don't know, but he wasn't like his proportions were wrong. They like changed them, and I was like, this looks kind of weird. I don't
Yeah.
know. I just
Yeah.
kept thinking of Hugh Grant. It was so funny.
It was like literally just his face. No.
Yeah, I I thought he was goof. I thought he was the best part of this movie.
He was pretty good. I did
Hmm.
enjoy him. So Wonka opens his very first chocolate shop, and we get, I think I said this one was one of my favorites, but A
You
World of
did.
Your Own.
Yep.
And I just love like everything about it. I love that we get to see his shop open for the first time. I love that we get to see all the magical items, like all the magical chocolate things that are directly called back from the very first movie that came out. I love that you get to see behind the scenes of how the rest of them are making it all happen. Like they're driving it on a bike, and there's some like the abacus or whatever his name is like directing everything, and like they've all like heard the musical number and they've attuned it all, so like you see them like they're singing it and they're like a world of our own, let's go kind of thing. It's just like
Hmm.
I don't know, it's just very cute. um yeah, and I'm also like obsessed with the magenta. I'm very glad that that's his signature color.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know, it all worked very well. I thought this scene was just fabulous.
Yeah. I thought it was cute. I thought it was fine. I
You didn't love it.
I know. I mean, I kind of feel like I'm gonna be like a broken record, but I feel like the singing was good. Timothy did a good job. It was cutesy and it was sweet,
Mhm.
and I agree with you that it captured like the essence of like Willy Wonka and his like original chocolates and stuff, and like the first glimpses of these things that we'll see when you watch the 71 version.
Mhm. But of course, something goes wrong, and the chocolates have been tampered with, and they start making people grow weird colored hair in weird places. And so the people decide that they're going to go on a rampage and they burn the place down, which is very sad.
That was really savage. I was shocked that they burned it down and that they poisoned people.
Well, they weren't really poisoned.
That's what they said.
It just like wasn't an ingredient that was supposed to be in there.
I don't want green hair. I would have been pissed. I just paid so much money for my hair.
Yeah. But after it burns down, the chocolate cartel comes over, they claim responsibility for it, and then they offer to pay off the debts of everyone who's employed at Scrub It and Bleachers under the condition that Willy Wonka leaves and he never makes chocolate again.
And they got him
So
good too by
I
being
know.
like, this is the right thing for Noodle and all your friends.
You can give
And they
her
were
a good
there for
life.
you.
Yep. Yep. So he gets on the boat. At midnight, he gets on the boat to wherever the boat is going. The Oompa Loompa is there for some reason. And it's at this point that Wonka realizes that Noodle is in more danger than he originally thought because she is a Slugworth. Surprise.
What an
I personally didn't see that coming.
evil man. I saw it coming for sure. Yeah. The moment there was like one moment when that man like made a look and I was like, oh, for sure. I thought he was her dad though. So I was
Oh,
glad
okay.
to hear that it wasn't that direct because I would have
Like an
been like, what the
uncle.
fuck, man? Like dropping your kid off with these like
Psychotic.
evil like orphan raisers. Like, oh my God. They're so I feel like
They're
it's
terrible.
crazy.
They're bad people.
But it did feel very like it almost felt like even like Harry Potter. Like you've got like an
Mhm.
orphan child who's raised by like evil people who
Her
make them
orphan
like
syndrome.
work. Yeah, orphan syndrome. Yeah, exactly. That was funny.
Um, so anyway, Slugworth and the Chocolate Cartel pay for everyone to be released except for Noodle. She does not get released. They paid to keep her incarcerated at this place.
Insane.
Um,
That should be
but have no
illegal.
fear, Wonka is back and they are saving Noodle and they are going to bring the cartel down.
Why the heck would they keep all of their stuff in like a green ledger?
Stupid. Stupid. Everybody has their kryptonite.
Uh-huh.
You know? I don't know. Why write it down at all?
I
Why
agree.
have any evidence?
It's supposed to be off the books, right?
Yeah. Why include it in a book? Why have the evidence? Why?
Because they can't help themselves. That's how like all the bad guys are, right? They have to like explain themselves at the end
Mhm.
when you catch them.
Yeah. So their plan includes the giraffe, surprise, the flamingos, which are like randomly like important throughout the movie. Uh and they have this whole plan where they're going to let the giraffe free in the church. And for whatever reason, everyone's scared of this giraffe. I don't think I'd be scared of a giraffe if it
I would
was.
be terrified if it
Oh,
got
okay.
let loose in the room you're in like that. That sounds terrifying. Those things are big
Yeah, they are really big. That's
and they
true.
have black tongues. Did you know that?
Yes.
And like that thing would kill you if it like stepped on you.
Yeah, that's
I mean, I
true.
don't think they're like aggressive, but like if it was in that place and it was scared,
Yeah. Okay, that's okay.
yeah, yeah.
So they let the giraffe free, and the church goes into panic mode. Um, but they end up through a bunch of different avenues, end up getting into the lair, finding the ledger, reading through it, and then just in the nick of time, the cartel shows up to stop the plan. Like, of course.
Mm-hmm.
We get the real Noodle story. We find out that Noodle is the niece of Slugworth. Her mom is still alive. Wonka and Noodle are sentenced to death by chocolate, which I don't know
Kind of
about that.
gross, not gonna lie.
All the chocolate's like completely destroyed. Like after someone's touched it like that, that's gross.
I bet they would sell it still. That's the vibe they give off.
Yeah, that's true. They probably would. Blech. Blech.
Ew. Ew.
Um, but
Ew.
before they start filling up the chocolate tank, Wonka asks Slugworth to give his last jar of chocolate to the Oompa Loompa, effectively making that the Oompa Loompa's property. And then the tank fills up, and Wonka and Noodle float all the way to the top. And this is another callback to the original Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, or Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. They bang on the top of the glass, asking for
Mm-hmm.
help.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Also, in the nick of time, Mr. Oompa Loompa shows up, drains the tank, and Noodle and Wonka emerge from the tank covered in chocolate, but they have the ledger. And they hand it over to the police, not the police chief, the actual police. And the
Yep.
cartel and the chief of police are all brought to justice.
Good. They should be. They're the worst.
So just keep that in mind if you're ever considering being a bad guy, that you will probably get taken down at some point.
No. All you need to know is don't write down all your misgivings in a book, and then you're fine. Do it
Yeah,
under the
don't
table.
write it down. Don't put anything in text message or an email. Face-to-face contact only.
Mhm.
Not that
Cash.
we would know. Okay. So then at the very,
Not
very
that we
end of the
would
movie,
know.
at the very end, Wonka finally gets to open his mother's chocolate bar that he's been holding on to, and he receives the very first golden ticket, which tells him that the secret is not the chocolate that matters, it's who you share it with.
That was sweet.
That was very sweet.
I liked
And
it.
then if you picked up on it, when they taste the chocolate, it tastes different because he's sharing it with different people. It's very sweet.
I
Uh
didn't pick up on that.
yeah, cuz he goes, "Huh."
No.
And she's like, is it what you remember?" And he said it's better than I remember cuz
Oh,
he's sharing it with people he loves.
that's sweet.
Yeah. So then Noodle's reunited with her mother, and we get our last musical number, which is Pure Imagination, which I'm so glad that they finished this movie with that number. I think it's just like
Mhm.
the perfect ending. And I
I
love the
agree.
variation that instead of saying, like, look around my chocolate shop, like, this is everything, he's like, look at these two people. Like, this is everything. Love is everything. The people that you surround yourself with is everything. And I thought that was really, really sweet and great.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I like the Pure Imagination. I think that is a really like iconic song, and it's a good song.
Hmm.
Like it's just fun to listen to.
Yeah,
And I
everybody knows that
genuinely
song.
think like I was like pleasantly surprised at how well Timothée Chalamet could sing it and like bring life
Mhm.
to it.
Yeah, I agree. So then, well, I just said that they ended the movie that way. That's not the end. There's one more scene, and Wonka pays off his debt to the Oompa Loompa and invites him to be a part of his second chocolate factory. And right before your eyes, they bring the chocolate factory to life.
Mhm.
And yet again, we see all of the things from the original that made Charlie's that made Willy Wonka's chocolate factory so special. You get the chocolate stream, you get the toadstools, you get the little cups, like everything's edible, it's all very colorful and really sets it up probably for the next movie that they're going to make.
Yeah, they're definitely gonna make another movie because, like, if you watch the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory or Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory movie, like, it
Mhm.
opens where they're, like, outside of the factory and they're basically like, Willy doesn't let anybody in there. And so I feel
Mhm.
like because, like, Slugworth did something, and I feel like there
Yep.
has to be something else that happens, like, Slugworth comes back and, like, causes some problem that makes
Mayhem.
Willy, like, bar his place off to everybody, which is interesting because I feel like it'll be like it almost like has to be darker or something, but I don't think it really can be because they've already like set the precedent with like this is how this kind of movie is made.
Mhm. Yeah. I don't know. We'll see. I'm I'm sure they're gonna make another one. I'm sure I'm gonna go see it.
I mean, with how successful this one has been, like there's no
Yeah.
way that they're not going to make another one.
Mhm.
It's raking in the cash. It's crazy.
I know. It's like the easiest money they could make is doing another one.
I know.
Not gonna say that I'm not here for it because I am.
We know you are. We know you want more, Timmy.
All right. I think that's it. I think it's
Okay.
time to do some ratings now.
Time to do some ratings. And as a reminder, we rate on Letterboxd, so 0 to 5 stars with half-star increments.
Mhm.
Would
Do
you
you
like
want
to
to go
go
first?
first? Whoa.
Do you want to go first or do you want me to go first?
I'll go first. I think I already know
Okay.
your rating.
Okay.
Okay. I think I have said my piece that I think I everyone did a good job in this movie.
Mhm.
Timothée Chalamet was a good Willy Wonka. He was a good singer. He like played the silly vibes well. I wish this hadn't been like a children's children movie. Like I wish
Yeah.
it had the dark elements, and I kind of wish it had been like Alice in Wonderland vibes. Like that's sort of what I like expected
Mhm.
from this movie, for it to be like really dark and like him kind of on an adventure, and
Yeah.
instead it was like just him like coming to the city and selling his chocolate. Um which is fine. But for me, this movie doesn't have like a lot of like rewatchability. Like I'm not going to go watch this movie again. And part
Mhm.
of that probably has to do with like the fact that just this like stylistically how it's done is not my
Yeah.
vibe. Like and it is people's vibe for sure. Like How Greatest Showman is people's vibe. But I do recognize like that it was well made. I think I'm going to go 2.5.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's, it's not terrible. That's middle of the road. You liked parts, you didn't like parts. That's like very fair.
Yeah, I think you've said this on like shows before with me, but if a movie isn't like very rewatchable to me, it's hard for me to rate it highly.
Yeah. I can see that.
But I recognize that this is something that like other people could think is very rewatchable. Like if you brought your kid to this, like I could see them being like, "Oh my god, this is so cool," and like wanting to watch it like over and over again.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
I went and saw it again this morning. So I saw this at like a previewing, and then
Mhm.
I went this morning, and I was the only one in the theater until literally the movie started and this family came in with like
Ugh.
6 kids, which is it was fine. They weren't like loud or anything. And people being
Yeah.
loud during movies really doesn't bother me, cuz I like to talk through movies and stuff. So like
Yeah.
it's,
Of course you do.
I'm not a hypocrite, okay? But like the kids really enjoyed it. Like I heard them
Oh,
after
good.
like talking about how excited they were about the movie.
Aw,
And
that's sweet.
yeah, and I from context clues figured out that this was the third time that this family has seen this movie since it came out like 3 weeks ago.
That's crazy. And you don't really go often to rewatch movies in theaters,
No.
I don't think.
And I
So
will point out I went by myself, which I have never done before.
that's big for Elizabeth.
So
I go to the movies by myself all the time, but Elizabeth doesn't really do that.
I don't do anything by myself. But I did go and I
Life
enjoyed myself.
choices.
So it made me
Yeah,
very happy. I was glad that I did that this
good.
morning. I went to like a 10 a.m. showing. It was great.
Did you rate it the same as the first time you watched it?
Yes, I gave it 5 stars. I love this movie.
Wow.
I know.
Wow.
I
I'm
know.
literally so sorry about my rating. I
It's
know you
okay.
gave it 5 stars, and
It's
I
okay.
wanted to love this movie so bad, Elizabeth. I went in with like clean slate. I was like, I went to the movie by myself actually, and I
Yeah.
went and sat there and was like, I'm gonna love this movie. And like 20 minutes in, I was like, Elizabeth
I
is
don't
gonna
love this.
hate me. Oh my god.
No.
And the first thing I thought was, this is like Greatest Showman.
Yeah. I did too. And I was like, "I
Yeah.
love this. This is just like Greatest Showman." But anyway, it's okay that you didn't like it because Hayden loved this movie. And
Wow.
if you guys know anything about my husband, he's a very tough critic.
Yeah.
And he gave this 4 stars,
I saw his
which
rating
is really
because
good.
look, sometimes when I feel a certain way about a movie that you've told me is good, I check Hayden's letterbox. I know
Yeah.
y'all watch a lot of movies together. And so like because I'm like, okay, I'm about to rate this movie like low. What did Hayden think? And then he kind of rated it low. So I'm like, okay, this is like acceptable. Like, not
Uh-huh.
that I care what other people think, but I always wonder, like
Yeah.
how does my rating compare to other people's? Especially because
Uh-huh.
sometimes me and you are so like different.
Mhm.
And this one, I was like, I was kind of scratching my
Uh,
head, like, Hayden, what the fuck?
he
Like, I
loved
thought we were
it.
aligned.
We
Yeah,
had so
good.
much fun.
Probably,
Um,
honestly, Elizabeth, because he was like sitting there watching how much fun you were having watching this
Probably,
movie,
yeah,
which makes me
probably.
think that, like, for parents, like, bringing their kids, like, you probably would really
Mhm.
enjoy watching this movie with your kids. For
Yes.
like a single adult, almost 30 something female, like, who usually goes to see movies like Saltburn. Maybe this isn't like the choice movie for me.
It'll be out on streaming at some point. I don't This one is a great, great movie, and, like, obviously, if you're a theater person, go see it, but this is not one of those that's, like, seeing it in the theater is gonna change the way you watch the movie.
I would
Like, you can
agree.
watch it at home and, like, get just as much out of it, you know?
Yeah, I would agree.
So if you're on the fence about it, maybe just wait until it comes out on streaming. It'll be out probably like a month and a half.
Yeah.
Okay, write-ins.
Let's do it.
So we had a grab bag of write-ins.
Okay, good.
This is hurting me. Okay, the first one.
We can only read the good ones if you want to.
No, I need to. I need to do
Okay.
this. Okay. So the first one agrees with you. Something that you said like almost verbatim. Okay.
Okay.
So this one's from a group called One of Us is Bored. I think they're another podcast actually.
Okay.
But they said loved the movie, but the music was forgettable. The best songs in the film were from the original movie. So
Yeah.
you're not alone there.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do them like bad, good, bad, good. Okay. So
Okay.
the next one is from one of our friends from the Movie Boners podcast. And they said, I had low expectations, but this movie was fantastic. Thank you, Justin. I'm so glad
I bet
you
he
loved
went
it.
and saw it with one of his children.
Yes.
Yeah.
The next one is from, it's an account that we've never gotten a write-in from before, so I'm really sorry if this is not how this is pronounced. I'm just going to spell it. It's IKMAYD.
I think that stands for something.
I don't know. I know what I don't know what it is, but anyway. So they said decently crafted movie, Paul King's Paddington influence shows, terrible Wonka origin story.
Kind of agree. I really think they could have done so much more with the origin story.
Yeah, I think they definitely could have. And for people who go in like with expectations of movies, like if you go in like expecting a certain thing and you get something different, like that's hard.
Yeah, I think that's sort of what I did. Like I kind of think I went in thinking this was going to be like the same vibe as Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, and it really wasn't.
Yeah, it was very different vibes. The last one I have is from the Movie Buff Dublin, and they said was very enjoyable.
Cute.
Yes. All right.
Would you like
do you want
me
to
to
run
read
through?
what?
Yeah, you do the world.
I'll do what the world thinks. So Letterboxd average, much better than what I thought, was 3.4 out of 5. And then the tomato meter was an 82%, which is very high.
A technically good movie.
Yeah. And then audience score was 91%. So people are liking this movie.
Mm-hmm. I think it's either getting like 100% or it's getting somewhere in the like 60s range.
Kids
which
must
is why
really
it's so
like this
high.
movie.
I bet families really like this movie.
I mean,
like, this feels like something my parents like we would watch like on repeat at my house.
Yeah. And like clearly it's doing very successful or doing very well. And like The Greatest Showman did very well. Like that was a great movie. And like I can't sit here and be like, this is an like I can say like it's a poorly written Willy Wonka origin story, but I can't be like it's a bad movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you just didn't enjoy it, which is fine.
And then IMDb was 7.3 out of 10, and 88% of Google users like this movie. So all around, very, very well liked and well received by the people of the internet.
Yeah. I think I'm going to stop including the Google users because it's like the same number every week.
Okay. We don't need them.
In case that's something that you're looking forward to, I think we're getting rid of that. So
yeah.
All right. Well, that is it for this week. We had so much fun talking about Wonka. We hope you guys really enjoyed hearing what we had to say. And if you're looking forward to our next episode, we're going to be talking about Asteroid City, which is another 2023 release. A very different style of movie, though. So
totally different.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's a Wes Anderson movie. So if that's your vibe, this is the episode for you. And honestly, even if Wes Anderson's not your vibe, it has a lot of stars in it. Yeah, so be sure to subscribe and follow us wherever you listen so you don't miss it. And then you can find us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, and Google Podcasts.
All right, we will see y'all next Monday.
Bye, guys.